Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Bill-Chen.
I'm Nimacum.
I'm Ven-Chan.
In this class, I'll read all of you a part of Moby-dick or the whale.
S.
L.
Moby-dick or the whale. Herman Melville. Chap. 3. The Spouter-Inn Sec. 4. And perhaps the sunlight produced these extraordinary effects upon the skin. And while all these ideas were passing through me like lightning, this harpooner never noticed me at all. But after some difficulty having opened his bag, he commenced fumbling in it, and presently pulled out a sort of tomahawk and a sealskin willet with the hair on. Placing these on the old chest in the middle of the room, he then took the New Zealand heat ghastly thing and crammed it down into the He now took off his hot and beaver hat when I came nigh singing out with fresh surprise. There was no hair on his head, and to speak of at least nothing but a small scalp knot twisted up on his forehead. His bald popish had now looked for all the world like a moulded skull. Had not the stranger stood between me and the door, I would have bolted out of it quicker than ever I bolted at dinner. Even as it was, I thought something of slipping out of the window, but it was the second floor back. I am no courage, but what to make of this head-puddling purple rascal altogether passed my comprehension. Ignorance is the parent of fear, and being completely nonplussed and confounded about the stranger, I confess I was now as much afraid of him as if it was the devil himself who had thus broken into my room at the dead of night. In fact, I was so afraid of him that I was not game enough just then to address him and demand the satisfactory answer concerning what seemed inexplicable in him. Meanwhile, he continued the business of undressing, and at last showed his chest and arms. As I live, these covered parts of him which echoed with the same squares as his face. His back, too, was all over the same dark squares. He seemed to have been in a 30 years' war, and just escaped from it with a sticking plaster shirt. Still more, his very legs were marked, as if a parcel of dark green frogs were running up the trunks of yon pans. It was now quite plain that he must be some abominable savage or other shaped, aboard of a whaleman in the South Seas, and so landed in this Christian country. I quick to think of it. A peddler of heads to perhaps the heads of his own brothers. He might take a fancy to mine havens. Look at that tomahawk. But there was no time for shuddering, for now the savage went about something that completely fascinated my attention, and convinced me that he must indeed be a heathen. Going to his heavy grigger, or apple, or dreadnought, which he had previously hung on a chair, he fumbled in the pockets, and produced at length a curious little deformed image with a hunch on its back, and exactly the colour of a 3 days old Congo baby. remembering the montage. At first I almost thought that this black mannequin was a real baby preserved in some similar manner. But seeing that it was not at all limber, and that it glistened a good deal like polished ebony, I concluded that it must be nothing but a wooden idol, which indeed it proved to be. For now the savage goes up to the empty fireplace, and removing the papered fireboard, sets up this little hunchbacked image, like a 10-pin, between the andirons. The chimney jambs and all the bricks inside were very sooty, so that I thought this fireplace made a very appropriate little shrine or chapel for his Congo idol. I now screwed my eyes hard towards the half-hidden image, feeling but ill at ease, meant to see what was next to follow. First he takes about a double handful of shavings out of his Grigo pocket, and places them carefully before the idol. Then laying a bit of ship biscuit on top and applying the flame from the animal, he kindled the shavings into a sacrificial blaze. Presently, after many hasty snatches into the fire, and still hastier withdrawals of his fingers whereby he seemed to be scorching them badly, he at last succeeded in drawing out the biscuit. Then blowing off the heat and ashes a little, he made a polite offer of it to the little negro. But the little devil did not seem to fancy such dry sort of ferret. All. He never moved his lips. All these strange antics were accompanied by still stranger guttural noises from the devotee. He seemed to be praying in a sing-song or else singing some pagan psalmody or other, during which his face twitched about in the most unnatural manner. At last extinguishing the fire, he took the idol up very unceremoniously, and bagged it again in his Grigo pocket as carelessly as if he were a sportsman bagging a dead woodcock. All these queer proceedings increased my uncomfortableness, and seeing him now exhibiting strong symptoms of concluding his business operations, and jumping into bed with me, I thought it was high time, now or never, before the light was put out, to break the spell in which I had so long been bound. But the interval I spent in deliberating what to say was a fatal one. Taking up his tomahawk from the table, he examined the head of it for an instant, and then holding it to the light, with his mouth at the handle, he puffed out great clouds of tobacco smoke. The next moment the light was extinguished, and this wild cannibal, tomahawk between his teeth, sprang into bed with me. I sent out. I could not help it now. And giving a sudden grunt of astonishment, he began feeling me, stammering out something, I knew not what. I rolled away from him against the wall, and then conjured him, whoever or whatever he might be, to keep quiet, and let me get up and light the lamp again. But his guttural responses satisfied me at once that he but ill comprehended my meaning. "Who that last said I no speaky? Damn mate, I kill ye." And so saying, the lighted tomahawk began flourishing about me in the dark. "And Lord, for God's sake, Peter Cuffing, shouted I. And Lord, watch, coughing, in shoals, save me, Spicky, Shalimi Huibil, or Demi, Aikali, again growled the cannibal, while his horrid flourishings of the tomahawk scattered the hot tobacco ashes about metal. I thought my linen would get on fire. But then Kevin. At that moment the landlord came into the room, light in hand, and leaping from the bed I ran up to him. "Don't be afraid now," said he, grinning again. "Quicker wouldn't harm a hair of your head." "Stop your grinning," shouted I. "And why didn't you tell me that infernal harpooner was a cannibal?" "I thought you knowed it, didn't I tell ye? He was a peddling heads around town, but turn flukes again and go to sleep." Quick. Look here, how sabi me. I sabi how this man sleep, ya sabi? Me sabi plenty, granted Quick, puffing away at his pipe and sitting up in bed. "You jetty in," he added, motioning to me with his tomahawk, and throwing the clothes to one side. He really did this in not only a civil but a really kind and charitable way. I stood looking at him a moment. For all his tattooings, he was on the whole clean, comely looking cannibal. "What's all this fuss I have been making about?" Thought I to myself, man's a human being just as I am. He has just as much reason to fear me as I have to be afraid of him. Better sleep with a sober cannibal than a drunken Christian. "And Lord," said I, "tell him to stash his tomahawk there, or pipe, or whatever you call it. Tell him to stop smoking. In short, and I will turn in with him. But I don't fancy having a man smoking in bed with me. It's dangerous. Besides, I ain't insured." This being told to Quick, he at once complied, and again politely motioned me to get into bedrilling over to one side as much as to say, "Won't touch a leg of ye." "Good night, and Lord," said I. "You may go." I turned in, and never slept better in my life. To be continued.